Welcome on into OneSoccer today. Andy Petrillo, Gareth Wheeler, Oliver Platt. We have made our way back to Toronto from Edmonton, but we enjoyed our time. Thank you so much for your hospitality and in honor of what an incredible window it was in November for the Canadian men's national team. We are wearing our
Canadian tuxedos!
Yes, we are.
Double denim!
But hold on a second. Ollie, why are you all in black?
Well, I didn't get the memo, first of all, but I'm also paying my respects to King Mexico of CONCACAF, who sadly passed away this week. So much like the Canadian team, I'm dressed in all black for that occasion.
Okay,
Wow.
So he brings the sympathetic side. We bring the Canadian tuxedo.
Mexico.
I know, he did. Well, we are going to talk a little bit more about Mexico, but we are also going to just talk about this November window because it was really incredible for the Canadians. They remain the only undefeated team in this final round of qualifying. The Mexicans, before they played Canada, they were coming off that 2-0 loss to the Americans. It was a 1-0 victory on Friday over Costa Rica. Jonathan David getting the lone goal in that one. And then a big historic 2-1 win over the Mexicans. The last time the Canadians beat Mexico, you have to go back to 2000. That was in the quarterfinal of CONCACAF Gold Cup. The Canadians went on to win that tournament. So pretty special here. And now that you had some time to digest, we knew it was a big game going into it, Gareth. We knew it was a big moment when it happened. By the way, the Mexicans making it dicey there with their goal in the 90th minute. But just, I don't know, now that you've had time to digest it, how do you even put into words what that night meant?
I think it's still very difficult. I know that over the course of the next hour, we'll get into a lot about the game. But my biggest takeaway coming back was just the magnitude of the event. Just the enormity of not only the spectacle that we saw with the weather, with the atmosphere, with the fandom, with the commitment of the players and the team, just making it seem like this special night, not only for soccer in this country, just for sport in this country, but the way that the country is also continued to fall in love with this group. They bought in. There's now these legendary Canadian soccer moments that are being created this year on the women's and men's side. And just when you think that you've seen it all, you see something else. Sam Adekubi, there you go, right? Like, it's just in such an innocent moment, but one that resonates so much. The prodigy, Alphonso Davies, running around the field, -10, with the Canada flag hoisted in the air. Just the emotion of it all, the way the country's responded, the big event feel. That's what's going to stick with me more than anything else.
Yeah, and it feels like it's come at the perfect time, right? Like we've come out of a couple of years with the pandemic where we've had empty stadiums, and I think we've forgotten what it feels like, you know, to watch a team that inspires you, that makes you dream a little bit and, you know, really represents your country in a way that we can all be proud of, right? And, you know, what it's like to be in a stadium like that where you have 50,000 people cheering them on, and every fan who was there played their part in that. You know, the team and the players won the game, but the fans that were there made it the spectacle that it was, right? And when you have that feeling of everyone pulling in the same direction and that togetherness, that's when you get special things happening.
Like, you guys were there. Like, Friday night seemed like loud. There was less people in the stadium for the Tuesday night game against Mexico. Didn't you feel like?
Yeah,
I felt the energy like ramped up a couple levels just being there.
It was, yeah, it was really different, and it was incredible talking to all the fans and knowing that they were coming literally from coast to coast. They were coming from all across the country. We also know that there were about 44,000 plus fans. 52,000 we heard tickets were sold, but a lot of fans couldn't make it out because of the weather, right? So that was the only reason why they couldn't make it out. They were either road blockages, right? Flights were either, you know, flat out canceled, but we know that more people wanted to be there. So we can only hope that we were able to bring you inside the game, because what a special moment this is with the full 6 points in this window, with USA drawing Jamaica. You know we're going to get into that, and the Mexicans losing to the U.S. Oh, don't look now, but it's Canada at the top of the standings to end off the 2021 calendar year. 16 points, that puts them at the top. And here's the thing, guys. In these two games, you could make the argument that the best player for Canada, the best player in CONCACAF, we've talked about it, Alphonso Davies, wasn't at his best, yet they still pick up these victories. So, Ollie, when you look at maybe the rest of the soccer world, and you look at these newspaper clippings and, you know, you listen to their shows and their pundits, how do you think they view the Canadian team right now?
I think they're taking notice and paying attention for sure. You know, I think there's people who really watch Canada. Like, you looked at I looked at Tata Martino's comments before the game, and he said pretty clearly, like, they're a problem. They're really going to ask us some questions, and they cause us some real difficulties in terms of how we match up against them. So when you have someone like that who's obviously scouting the team and knows them very closely, they know that Canada are for real, and that they're, you know, right in the conversation there as the best team in this region. And then I think you look at the rest of the world and people who are maybe just taking a first glance now, and I think there is really an appreciation and you know, a realization that a country that has probably been one of the biggest underachievers in world football, when you look at the size of the country, you know, the wealth, the resources of the country, is now finally on the rise and finally starting to live up to where it could be when you look at the potential that's there. I think people are taking notice all around the world of that as well. So yeah, I think they are starting to turn some heads.
What did Alphonso Davies say in a media conference in the build-up to this window? That some of his Bayern Munich teammates are like, oh, you play for Canada. Yeah. They rib him a little bit. But they go back, or when he goes back to his club and he plays on Friday, aren't his teammates saying to him, what were those scenes in Edmonton with the snow? You guys look like you're having a blast. You beat Mexico. They're an exciting team. There's familiar faces. Like, if you are in the international landscape and you're not paying attention, you're missing out. And it's not petty. Like, the United States and Mexico have this thing where they're trying to one-up one another. The man in the mirror shirt that Pulisic, you know, pulled out. That showed weakness in Pulisic and the U.S. men's national team to me, because it's pettiness between them. This group is just going out. They're not willing to budge. If teams step up and try to engage with them, they hold their ground. They don't care. They're playing with edge. It's not about these little finicky things with this Canadian men's national team. They scored the most goals in men's international football in 2021, more than England, more than Germany. Hey, look, people say, well, Canada played Grand Cayman. England put 10 past San Marino, right? And they played the exact same amount of games. So what Canada has done this year, it's historic. The most goals internationally in the men's game. So if they're not paying attention, it's at their own despair.
Speaking of scoring goals, the two men who have been responsible for a ton of them, Kyle Larin, we saw him get that brace against Mexico, and Jonathan David, again, as I mentioned, scored on Friday. So I know, gentlemen, I'm going to put you in a tough spot here. Oh. Show love for both, fine, but you have to give an answer, Gareth. All right. Who's Canada's best striker, Jonathan David or Kyle Larin?
So Kyle Larin scored 14 goals this calendar year. Jonathan David's the leading goal scorer in Ligue 1, and he has 7 goals in 12 games,
correct,
by the way. So you're trying to make me decide between these two great Canadian strikers. So like I do on this show, I railroad my way to take the conversation where I want. No, so wheels up. I want to give a shout out to some unsung heroes in this Canadian men's national team, and that is the back three. The biggest question for this Canadian men's national team coming in to this qualifying campaign, could Vittoria, could Miller, could Johnston, players like this hold up? And guess what? They all did. They have all been spectacular. Let's give some love for our Canadian defenders. They've been absolutely exemplary. The fewest goals conceded this qualifying window so far as well. So wheels up, wheels down. That's what I say.
Okay, so he gave the politician answer. Let's go, Ollie. Let's see if you're going to give the blue-collared answer.
To get back to the question, I think Jonathan David has been fine. You know, he's scored goals, he's assisted goals. I don't think it's been as much of an issue, his performances, as maybe people have made out, and he is playing brilliantly for his club right now. But Kyle Larin has started 3 games and scored in every single one of them. He scored 4 goals in this final round of World Cup qualifiers. He's led the team in scoring this year. He's now Canada's all-time top goal scorer. Like, Kyle Larin, at the minute, has to be in the team. And there will continue to be a decision that has to be made as to how many of these attacking players you can fit in to the 11 at the same time. I don't think Larin can drop out right now, and you know, unless something changes over these next few months, because he is playing that well. And by the way, he's out of contract at the end of the season, and he could be playing right up alongside Jonathan David and Alphonso Davies.
I was trying to think of what this means big picture, because obviously it surprised people that David didn't start in the second game. I wonder if this goes and maybe changes the role that Alphonso Davies plays a little bit. Because he can. Yeah. I'm not sure what will be in the best interest of the team in terms of how you fit all these pieces together, but maybe that means that Davies can play more of a wing-back role in this team. That's maybe where we end up. Throw Buchanan, Ugbo into the mix. Like, there's so many good players in that position, so it's going to be intriguing to see how this group is tinkered with as we move forward.
Overall, 18 goals in 24 matches for Jonathan David, but we know Kyle Larin right now with that brace is now 22 goals, tied with Dwayne DiRosario for most goals scored.
Zero.
He just needs one more, and he will have that record. So it's pretty impressive what Kyle Larin is doing, considering this was somebody we thought was out of the team just a few years ago. Somebody who John Herdman has always made a point of saying he's our number one. That is Milan Borjan. What a leader on this team, even near the end, just pushing his own teammates out of the way right now to not have them get into trouble, hopefully not face any kind of supplemental disciplinary. But he also wanted them to acknowledge the fans and enjoy their moment. So let me ask you this then, Ollie. If any bartender charges him for a drink in Canada, then that's treason, and they should never be allowed to wear a Canadian tuxedo.
I agree. I agree. It goes back to what Wheels was just saying a minute ago about some of the unsung heroes. Like, there are so many players on this team who I think have taken their game to another level under John Herdman. And I think that, there's various reasons for that. Maybe for the outfield players, sometimes it's more of kind of the tactical fit and putting them in roles where they have a position to succeed. But obviously, goalkeeper is goalkeeper. And I think in Milan Borjan's case, what really stands out to me is he just seems to, like, the way John Herdman gives this team meaning and gives the feeling of Canada, playing for Canada, meaning. That's something that some of these players really seem to tap into, and they just find that little bit extra, that extra 10% that other teams can't. And Milan Borjan, right now, like I said, I don't think he's ever played better in his career than this.
But it shouldn't surprise, though, because this is a goalkeeper that's played in Europe's top club competitions over the last 3-4 years.
Has he ever played this well for Canada?
On a regular basis. Up until the last 2 years, Canada haven't been playing games. Right. So we haven't seen him have a run of games like this where he can really take upon that leadership role in the team. He's leading by that. He's leading in terms of his fashion sense as well.
Oh, dear.
Like, that should be the new Canadian tuxedo. Snood over the head, gray jogging pants.
Didn't he look like a little nonna when he came out? I thought he looked like a little grandmother.
He looks incredible. That is going to be my Halloween costume next year. I am going as Milan Borjan. But I want to give a shout out to someone else because I knew Canada was going to win the game as soon as Max Crépeau came out during warm-ups. The backup goalkeeper for Canada, I love this guy, comes out short sleeves just like it was just another day. Yep. The best during warm-up. Like, shout out to Alistair Johnston doing it in the game, shorts, no sleeves. Like, that's exactly what I would have done. But Crépeau set the tone. Hey, you love the goalkeepers. I'm giving the goalkeepers some love, Andy.
Yes.
All three. James Pantama, same thing. Great guy, great dude. We'll see him this weekend in the Canadian Championship.
Goalkeepers are tough, and to your point, you have to also give credit to Max Crépeau. When you have a nice 1-2 punch in your goalkeeping tandem there, it's good internal competition, right? Or at least keeps you on your toes and always motivates you. How about that? To take the positive spin on it. All right, let me ask you this then now. What's the better moment? You have to pick this one, Gareth. Is it Borjan's goal line save? That would have made it 2-2. That was huge, the save that he made against Mexico. Or what people are calling to be a Canadian Heritage Minute, the Sam Adekubi celebration.
Okay, as much as I like the Adekubi celebration, and that's what I think most Canadians will remember from the game, these viral moments on OneSoccer, people, they happen every day. The own goal, the Davies goal, the Adekubi into the snowbank, it has to be the Borjan save. Because if this goes in at the end of the game, they come away with a 2-2 draw, the magnitude of the night wouldn't have been the same. This salvaged the party, right? Things are going sideways or potentially going sideways. Borjan to the rescue. Then we can really celebrate that Adekubi moment for how good it was. 2-2, it's notable, it's recognized, but I don't think we're partying and celebrating as much as we do.
I can't take the Borjan save, as brilliant as it was, because it wasn't a good moment for me. It was a horrible moment. Like, I thought it was going to be a goal. So I don't want to put that out of my mind completely and not even think about it. So I'll take the Sam Adekubi dive. Like, this is iconic stuff from Adekubi. When you just spot a good snowbank like that, you have to dive into it, right? And he does so with style. I love it.
He went all salmon going upstream. Like, it wasn't just a dive. It was just like the body went, like, it was like a fish going upstream. It was amazing form. Like, it wasn't just going into the snowbank. It's how he did it.
Keep looping that over us. You don't need to see us.
You know, he spent time in Calgary and in Norway. Like, he is primed for those conditions. Well done.
It is so. It's the fact that he caught the attention of his teammates too, where they're all celebrating here, but then they're like, "Wait a second. Wish I came up with that idea," because it was so much fun. All right, so obviously...
He's our snow angel, Andy. He is our snow angel.
Sam, you're our snow angel. Obviously, we don't have the updated FIFA rankings here, but we know that Canada entered this window ranked 48th, their highest ever, 40th, 1996. You know they're going to have to climb up the rankings big time, maybe even match 40th with this window, and in particular beating Mexico. But let me ask you this, Gareth. Do you think Canada... Obviously, this is not going to be the ranking. We're not saying this, they're going to suddenly make top 20. But do you think that they could be top 20 right now?
If they can beat a top 20
team. By the way,
team,
19th right now, if we go to so 19th is Wales, 20th is Senegal.
Well, Wales is a juggernaut. We all know that. Right, Adam Jenkins?
Terrifying.
Jenkins knows.
Mm-hmm.
So they maybe can't beat the 19th ranked team in the world, but they just beat the 9th ranked team in the world in Mexico. The United States are ranked 13th. Switzerland only gets past lowly nations like Italy. I think they could give them a go.
Why are you starting
Sweden?
to fight?
Does Sweden impress you, what they have now? I don't know.
Decent
Senegal.
team.
These are all teams in the top 20. I think you can absolutely say a top 30 team. They can be 100% competitive to expect to go to beat Iran.
Chile might not qualify for the World Cup.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Do you think they could be top 20?
I think they can. They just did beat a top 20 team. So, yes, I do think they have the makings of a team that could. They need a lot of results just based on how the numbers work.
Yeah, the rankings are over a long period of time, right? But if we're asking, could they beat a top 20 team? Yeah, of course they could. They've just done it, and there's plenty more teams in there you'd fancy them to at least have a chance against.
Crazy. Well, they started the year at 72.
Yeah. Now they get to enjoy the holidays as the #1 team right now in the standings in the final round of qualifying. The next window, late January. 2 on the road, Honduras, El Salvador. Then a big one at home versus the United States. The home stadium yet to be determined. Time now for our favorite game of likely or unlikely. Gareth, I begin with you. Likely or unlikely? Mexico, no longer the giants of CONCACAF.
It's not only likely, it's a certainty. You can't lose 3 times to your rival in a matter of 5 or 6 months to the United States and then be expected to retain the title of Kings of CONCACAF. In fact, you can't lose to Canada and draw at home in qualifying and still be dubbed the Kings of CONCACAF. We're in a transition. We'll see where it ends up. I do think it's going to be the Kings of the North, Canada on top. Roll the tape. How many times have I told you people out there on a regular basis what's going to happen? It's always coming true. I said that Canada was going to come away with 6 points in this window. It happened. The throne is going to be Canada's once they beat the United States on January 30th. But yeah, it's gone. Done, dusted, a thing of the past.
It's likely, and I think it's going to be even more likely when you look at the next generation of players coming through in Canada and the States, right? They're going to be right there with Mexico. And quite frankly, I think it could be the best thing that's happened to Mexico in some time, because this is a massive football country that hasn't been to a World Cup quarterfinal played outside of Mexico. They've underachieved, quite frankly, over the years. Now they're going to get some proper competition in their own region.
Marcelo Flores, who are you going to pick? Who are you going to choose?
Likely or unlikely, Ollie, that Canada men's national team will not only qualify for Qatar, but win a game.
That's brilliant.
Should have left that one there for a second.
That was awesome.
It's likely if USA and Mexico can go to the World Cup and win games, then why can't Canada right now?
Yeah.
Canada's getting results against these teams, looks just as good as these teams. Look, obviously first things first, let's just get there, and that will be an accomplishment in and of itself. But this Canadian team looks like it can be competitive against, as we just said, top 20 teams in the world.
Costa Rica in 2014, by the way, it's likely. Costa Rica in 2014 won a group featuring Uruguay, Italy, and England.
Yeah,
and went on to play in a quarterfinal where they lost to the Netherlands, by the way, in penalties. It was kind of harsh. So yeah, like these things happen. Canada is good enough. I just look at the attacking output from this team, and you kind of compare and contrast them with others, and you're like, yeah, okay, this front four can go out and play with some of the best international teams in the world. I have no doubt. Among everyone's stock who has risen, and Gareth Gecko, and put on my Gareth Gecko hat, what about the stock of John Herdman?
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to get into this, but there's no doubt his team will be extremely prepared to go perform on a stage like that. So absolutely, that's very likely.
Likely or unlikely, we will continue to fist bump every time we do something that we like and appreciate.
That's likely.
Fist bumps all
Very
around here on
likely.
the show. Likely or unlikely, Garrett, that Canada will stage their January qualifier versus the United States on the East Coast?
Likely. I think that's also very likely. Word has it, as of this morning, on Thursday, that a venue hasn't been decided yet for that January 30th game. But my suspicion, and I think if I'm a betting man, I just happen to be one, that BMO Field might be that venue. Remember, weather shouldn't be an issue. Last year on January 30th, it only went down to a low of -3 in the city of Toronto. That's balmy compared to what we just experienced in Edmonton. The field's well taken care of. There's heating under the field. There's grass there. Most importantly, that's where the players want to play. And that's no disrespect to Edmonton or any other city. It's travel. It's logistics. The vast majority of players on this Canadian men's national team come from the area as well. And just lastly, logistically speaking, there's a travel not only back from their club sides or wherever they're coming from, travel to Honduras, back to Canada, then to El Salvador. If you're playing on the West Coast, that travel is arduous to say the least. It just makes most sense for it to be played here in Southern Ontario.
Yeah, likely. Look, I'd love to see a game in Vancouver. I think the crowd would be fantastic. It would be as great as Edmonton was. But the only question that should be being asked right now is what is best for the team in between two really difficult away games in Honduras and El Salvador. That's it. Whatever suits the team best is where you go.
Either way, we're talking about the cold, talking about snow, ice, wind, right? When we're in winter in the middle of Canada. So let me ask you this then, Ollie. Likely or unlikely that Canada has become CONCACAF's most difficult away trip?
Likely, why not, right? Like Honduras aren't really a relevant team in this cycle. El Salvador haven't been very good either. Those have been two difficult places to go in the past for various reasons. Look, I went down to Azteca. It's obviously a historic place, but I wouldn't say it was a particularly frightening place anymore, partly because of the team on the pitch, which hasn't had, which has underwhelmed a lot of people so far. So, yeah, I look at Canada and some of the conditions they can put you through, and most importantly, the quality of the team that you're going to be facing that hasn't lost in these qualifiers. Yeah, why not?
I'm saying unlikely because it depends where. What I loved Edmonton, it was a perfect place, the perfect spot, the perfect time. And unlike past trips to Edmonton where, the team would play Trinidad and they bring out a band from TNT on the field to welcome in, just be played. We're not playing nice anymore.
No.
So it was so great to see Canada actually take advantage of a home field advantage, and I do think it made a difference. But still, those games in Toronto, the El Salvador fans, the Canadian fans were great, but there's still a little bit of that element, that little bit of an unknown, understanding that people will travel to support their team and want to go to games in this country. I'm not sure if we're there yet. We're more intimidating. I think we're starting to clue in what needs to be done. But, it wasn't the atmosphere of the Azteca. It's playing at altitude. That makes it a very difficult trip. The heat, some other difficult conditions, the pitch conditions elsewhere. So I think we're in the mix. We're making up ground, but we're not there yet.
Canadians getting better, right? The verb.
Better.
They're learning to CONCACAF the other nations, but still in a very Canadian way. We'll say sorry afterwards. Sorry, but we won't give you what you want.
Sorry, not sorry.
We know that a lot of teams, players, because they've told us before that oftentimes that they will come up with a goal celebration. They say, if we score, this is what we're going to do. So let me ask you this. Likely or unlikely, the goal celebration that we're loving, even though he didn't score, but he was part of it, Sam Adekubi, did he actually plan that in advance, likely or unlikely?
I say unlikely because he was the only one that did it.
Yeah.
That's why I think it was impromptu. Typically, if it's planned, he would have said to, he's great friends with Alfonso. He'd be like, come jump in the snowbank with me, right? That would have happened. The fact that he went rogue. And I can't tell who the player is. This guy, right, I can't tell who that is running up because he understood what Adekubi did at that time as well. I think it caught everyone by surprise. It would have been cool if they did it as unison, but no, it's actually more charming by virtue of the fact I think it was just impromptu.
Yeah, unlikely. Saw a big snow pile and he jumped into it. I think it was totally impromptu.
That's what we do as Canadians. We just jump into snow piles, in case you didn't know. Likely or unlikely, Ollie, that John Herdman is still searching for his best midfield combination?
Unlikely, I think. Look, Marc-Anthony Kaye is a really good player and he's going to have a big part to play, but I thought Atiba Hutchinson and Stephen Eustachio were just outstanding against Mexico. And that, for me, is the two. If you're going with a two-man pairing, then it has to be those two in your biggest games right now. Atiba was everywhere. He was brilliant. Eustachio, I thought, was just, like, so good. I don't know if there's a midfielder in CONCACAF playing better than he is right now. The set-piece delivery was magic for the second Kyle Larin goal. There were so many little things throughout the game where, you know, on a difficult pitch in a game that was big on transitions at times, he would just have a touch or two and he would make something of it, be able to ping a pass, slide someone in. Like, the guy is an unbelievable player and the heartbeat of the team right now.
Yeah, I'm going to say unlikely because I think it just depends on the game. The one thing that Atiba couldn't have done at 38 is go back-to-back.
Yeah.
So you're going to need more than one player. And oftentimes he'll bring another player to play inside alongside Eustachio. Like, Eustachio is a must play. But Kaye's been great. I think you can bring in Osorio for a more attack-minded player. Piet, if you need to kind of close up shop as well. He has options. But the one mainstay is Stephen Eustachio. I'm totally with you. And it's kind of funny. I was thinking to myself, like, okay, if you have this many midfield players who are all playing a role, is there a time and place for Arfield to come back into the team? Like, he's the one player that's still top of mind for Canadians, I think. But with the team playing this way, then perhaps there isn't time or space to bring him back into the
He's
group.
not in the 11 right now.
No,
and so
but
you
is
have
he in the 23?
I think he could get in the 23, but you ask what his motivation will be to come and sit on the bench, right?
And how would that role work within this team?
Yeah.
I think they have a pretty good thing going. I think he's established with the guys that he's rolling with.
Yeah, and we cannot say it enough. Congratulations to Atiba Hutchinson in becoming the most capped player on the men's side
awesome
in that game against Mexico.
Shut
and he
down
did
Alvarez.
have himself a game.